the new history of the DC Universe, issue 1,
Yeah.
Mark Waid. This isn't going to be a typical review, I suspect, but Matt did look through it,
No.
so
Yes.
by all means, fill us in.
Yeah, so this is just basically a bunch of it's like a timeline with narration boxes with art over the course of the history of the DC universe.
It's all like one-page splash pages, though, right? Yeah,
Yep.
There's no panels or anything like that.
No, it's so in the beginning there's panels and then everything kind of builds, and there's kind of art within the art that makes like panel kind of things. But it opens up with a retired Barry Allen in like this room that has all of these DC artifacts in it. Right? He's got a Superman cape, he's got the Green Arrow's bow, the cosmic rod, a bottle of Gingold, and he's talking about like he's been tasked with recording the history of the DC universe. And, he's like, because it makes me uncomfortable. He prefers his history structured, which is why, as his most traveled witness, it's his responsibility to record it. Right? So, and it just, from there, it starts at the beginning with the Source and Perpetua and Anti-Monitor, and this is the third time he came up this week, which I thought was weird. And they talk about the concept of the Endless was born around then, and it gets into the cosmology of the reign and hell with Lucifer and the Spectre and the Eclipso, the Manhunters later on Oa. So it jumps around the universe when the humanoids first popped up on Maltus, and they became the guardians of the universe, and they get into all of that, and we get through this big cosmological side of the DC universe in this issue. Like, we don't even really get to Earth until a couple pages after that, and even then it's all primordial stuff. We get to New Genesis and the New Gods, and how they are the Source granted them godhood because of who they were. And then the first time Earth comes up is about the Parliament of the Green in Yggdrasil and all this other stuff. They get into Arion and Atlantis and how Atlantis got split because of Eclipso. Also, it notes that Scartaris, which I didn't realize this, where Warlord is, the guy that kind of looks like Oliver Queen, that's actually they're Atlanteans. They fled to that realm in the center of the earth, which is new. And then we finally get to the like what I would consider the start of the DC Earth stuff, right? We get Anthro, the caveman, and Vandal Savage, and the Amazonians, and the champion of Shazam, and the Hawks, and we just get through all this other stuff, and it starts becoming this whistle-stop tour of the DC universe with all these characters that we recognize, and we might not know why we recognize them, right? But like they get Mark Waid brings up Shining Knight and the two different versions of them, Sir Justin, and then how Merlin had bound his half brother to the demon Etrigan, and it brings up the Demon Knights, which I don't know if you read that book back in the New 52. It was essentially the medieval Justice League. So seeing them pop up was a lot of fun. The art, it's Todd NAUCK in some of these, and I think Jerry Ordway in some of the other ones. There's one that really stands out, and it's where we get introduced to Ra's al Ghul. And Mark Waid builds him up as like he was a child whose name's been lost to ages. But he had discovered the Lazarus Pits because he was a physician, and he wanted to prolong life. And then that's what turned him into Ra's al Ghul. And just the color is bathed, or the page is bathed in green, and it's got like a half profile of him, like not a profile, but half of his face up on one side. And it looks super cool. It's very ominous. But yeah, we get into the early United States history of the DC universe, and the pirate characters, and the Shade, and Max Mercury, the Western characters. And that's basically this whole thing, right? It's Mark Waid going, hey, remember them? Hey, remember this guy? Hey, this is when they popped up. We get the Justice Society and the All-Star Squadron, and it touches on the Jeff Johns Stargirl story with the lost, sidekicks. And eventually it builds to World War II and all of those characters, and Martian Manhunter being pulled there by Dr. Erdell. And it ends with a ship coming, leaving Krypton. And then it says end book 1, right? And that's the end of the traditional book. But then there's the timeline written by Dave Welgos, or Welgos. I don't know how to say his name. But it says based off of research by Mark Waid and Dave Welgos. And yeah, it's just basically annotations of everything they just talked about and what issue it popped up in the DC history, right? So it's pulling from all of them, and based off of Mark Waid's research, this is going to be the new timeline where if they want to tell stories, this is where it was established, which kind of cool, but at the same time, it's a history book.
Doesn't
right?
make for
and
exciting reading, though.
No, and a lot of the pages are cool because there's panels within the page, but there's none of the gutters or anything. So when these characters are being talked about, there is a flow to them all. Like Mark Waid knows what he's doing there. But I was expecting maybe a character to be popping in and experiencing this with us, and it's not. It's essentially a handbook. And I'm sure it'll be great. I'm going to keep reading it. I might not cover all of them. It'll depend on the week, right? Because this won't be a priority. Not like that was a priority this week, but, I had read it before this morning.
It's interesting they're establishing all this, because it sounds like we're building to a crisis, but presumably the crisis won't reboot everything if we're just... Because it'd be weird to establish, like, the definitive, this is what the continuity is for the entire timeline right now, and then change it months later.
Yeah, the fact that he's playing with so much time stuff versus the multiverse of it all makes me wonder if he's doing a new 0 hour. Right? That's what he's building towards. And he's going to wipe out the timeline, and now this is the new timeline going forward. Right? We're going to play with all of that. But yeah, I love that he talked about the new gods and what they represented and how they're from the source, because the source is the first thing that gets brought up. Right? So there's this reverential treatment, and then we get to the new gods, and then caveman and all these other type of heroes. So it just shows the difference in what was going on Earth versus everywhere else in the galaxy, which is cool. But yeah, it's not a must read by any means, but if you're like me, like you said, like a weirdo that likes to know about all these different things, it is worth a visit. Like, I'm not upset that I sat and read it. I was happy that it was a quick read though,
I mean, it sounds like something that would be nice to have when you've got the full thing as a reference thing, but I don't know if it's, the most exciting sounding thing to go and read as it's coming out.
Yeah.
All right, you don't have to rate this at all, because it's not really a comic book. It's...
Yeah, you can't... Like, how do I rate just, like, really fun art and, a whistle-stop tour?
Yeah, there's no story. Yeah,
really
there's
can't.
no...
Yeah. So, but yeah, check it out if you're a continuity wonk like I am, because I'm, Mark Waid is one for sure. And I know he's dropping little things in there. The fact that he's making Barry Allen the archivist for all of this shows, his love of the Flash.